here's the thing. I don't see this in one occupation. I see this across occupational boards. Like, for instance, women are often in HR departments, and they usually make things 200,000 times worse for everybody because they're in HR departments, and it's just awful. They're just awful in HR departments.
But why are women in HR departments? Because normally, like, I think that kind of goes back to like the systemic change.
I'll tell you,
we're in HR because that's all we can do.
Yeah, hang on.
Right?
I'll explain why. I'll explain why in HR departments they're problematic, especially when it comes to men. So, HR. I'm going to tell you, this is true. When you go to a human resources department, they have psychological training courses that they often go through. And during the psychological training courses, they're taught to use a specific tone, which is designed around the feminine, just like in school. In schools, men are disadvantaged. Boys are disadvantaged because it's usually a feminine curriculum. And that's why women excel in school, men don't. They have a feminine curriculum. This idea of like, sit at the table, have your hands folded, listen quietly while the teacher's teaching. Men don't do that shit. They want to throw stuff at each other.
As a boy, Mom,
and be obnoxious. They want to throw stuff at each other.
I know. I'll push back on that though. There's plenty of men who do great in school though. We used to see that a lot more.
Women excel in comparison because of the rules which are there, right? So, for instance, when I was younger, you got into a fist fight. It was maybe suspendable. It was not a police arrest you and you go to jail.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
If I came home with a black eye and bloody nose, I lost. That's all that meant.
Or unless he had more bruises or something, then you could have won on that one.
But the point is like nobody gave a shit. It wasn't like, oh my God, these kids, they started knocking each other around. Oh my,
no.
Cops.
Well, I think once there was more shootings and
there was a massive amount of gang violence inside schools before any of that like mass stuff started happening, right? Yeah. But still, men, especially young men, learn differently than women. But because they're inside of like a very feminine zone, they actually can't excel the same way they do in like all boys schools and things like this, where they excel much better. What's interesting is in HR departments, since they're always inundated with women, right? It's always from the feminine perspective too. So men, let me tell you some things that men hate. Can we have a little conversation? Every man who hears that does this. Oh God, can you just calm down and Zeus lightning bolt me through the fucking chest? Please do that so I don't have to go in to this room.
I think women have that too. The moment we hear any of that.
With this fucking insufferable
woman. Can we have a talk?
Woman.
As a more masculine presenting person,
how about this one?
As a woman, I agree. So we hate that shit.
So what we're going to do here is a little bit of coaching. We're going to do a little bit of coaching.
I don't talk like that.
Or how about we're going to, I'm just here to assist you with some of the problems that we've been seeing you having. And they have their little like fucking stupid Post-it notes and shit. Every guy on planet Earth, right? Even the most like cringe dude thinks the second they hear that, all they can think of in their head is this, and this is what's on repeat. Right now, you can believe me or not believe me, but this is what's on repeat. Shut up, bitch. Shut up, bitch. Shut up, bitch. Shut up, bitch. Please shut up, bitch. Please shut up. That's all they're thinking on repeat. Now, me saying that out loud to a group of women, you think even right now, man, that's harsh. That's actually kind of harsh, but it's like, that's actually how we think about it. We're just like, please, can this end? How quickly can this end?
But do you think that that's why that tone is being made? Because a confrontation, because I feel like men can only hold it in before they
lose it.
And so it's like they have to take a softer tone. Almost like, I don't want to say speaking to a child, but just being softer to create this open space.
No. See, I think that misses the whole point. Okay. And that's the feminine prism too, right? They don't actually give a shit. What they really want to say to you is like, everything that you're about to tell me, I don't give a fuck about any of it. I don't care. It means nothing to me. I'm only trying to get through this meeting as far as I can to keep this job. But everything coming out of your mouth, I literally don't give a fuck about.
I think women
That's
have that
what
too.
they actually are thinking in their brains.
I think women in that circumstance are also thinking the same thing.
Hold on. Going to you, you are not enjoying what Andrew's saying.
True.
Oh my God.
What are your thoughts?
The reason why she doesn't date in America.
I was thinking why you could make such conclusions like without giving any examples. Like you need to like support your own opinions.
But even his examples would be his.
So if you're asking for like data for these examples, right now this is an anecdotal conversation.
Yeah.
So I preface this conversation by saying this is based on the pattern recognition experiences that I've seen.
Yeah.
Not preferencing it on like, oh, I have a massive data packet here that's sociological in nature and probably will never be replicated in order to show my findings that this is what men think. But based on all the conversations that I've had with men, and I've had thousands of them all across the world, same thing with women, this is what they think.
Sure, but there will be something called confirmation bias in this as well, too.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is like, I think pattern recognition assists with eliminating confirmation bias. That's what it's there for.
Not really,
confirmation bias is
because
better.
you wouldn't be able to assess your own like patterns and your own confirmation bias in it or awareness of it. If you understand what I'm saying with that one.
So
but sorry, I don't want to take the conversation.
Well, you're good, but let's just talk about it from the ideological. You can hold ideologies which are false based on confirmation bias like you're talking about. Many people do.
Yeah.
Until they are moved into a position where their ideology is tested and doesn't fit with the pattern, then they enter cognitive dissonance. Because their confirmation bias shatters based on new pattern recognition.
You hope, but it actually doesn't happen unless they're like forced to recognize it and forced to face the information.
That would be new patterns.
Now, what we see in dating is confirmation bias is huge.
Yeah, of course.
If you have a belief system that all women, all men are shit or nothing, or all women are toxic, I'm sorry, but if you put someone in a room full of quality people or nice people, they'll make it up in their head. You will make it up in your head.
Yeah,
you will actually physically hear it differently, and you will repeat it back differently. You can ask someone with confirmation bias.
I would never say that the idea of like all women are shit.
No, I was giving an example of that.
Right?
I know you didn't say that.
Like in these monolithic tones.
No.
But I do think.
But we generalize.
Yeah, of course we generalize, but that's part of pattern recognition. Is generalization.
And but that's a good one to recognize. I'm generalizing, so my pattern is that I'm generalizing and I'm seeing these people and I'm putting them.
Well, no, I'm
this.
generalizing based on patterns. So I would just say, like, for instance, I don't get in very many car accidents, so I think driving's pretty safe for me. That would be a pattern that I would recognize, right?
But if you were to see the data,
but if I were to. Well, how about just I were to be moved to a large city where there was massive traffic congestion, and now suddenly I'm driving a lot more and I'm getting into more accidents, I might enter into like, oh shit, my pre-assumption about driving being safe is actually driving's only safe under these circumstances.
If that happened, but you could also go to that big city and suddenly only drive 2 p.m. when there's no traffic. Sure. So you could absolutely still hold that belief system.
But that makes my point for me.
It's safe to do.
Right, but that makes my point for me that the ideology, unless presented with new patterns, is going to hold still based on pattern recognition.
Yes, based on pattern. But that's why it's on the individual as well too. So.
You said like women are like less like not available but reliable for like advice and stuff. Like for me it's much different. Like growing up in the South, like my mom and my grandmother and my aunties, like those powerful women were the ones leading the family, like giving advice, cooking all the meals, and like I couldn't really name maybe like one or two males that really had a dramatic impact on my life where I would say like, oh yeah, like
well, I need you to remember this though.
Yeah.
That I didn't actually say who was more available for advice.
No, that was a bad. That was
what
a bad
I said
term.
was
who was better if you
the
asked.
ones I would actually go to.
Yeah.
For
See,
advice.
for me, it wouldn't be a man because
I actually said women are more available, more available for
but
advice,
the good
and
advice,
a lot more likely to give
depends on
it.
the subject. I think it depends on what you're asking them advice on.
Right.
Because women would be experts on makeup, for example, like stereotypically.
Or raising kids.
Well, here's the thing. Why the fuck would a guy go to a girl for advice on makeup?
We can answer that. We're in LA.
Just give me an example. Like women are excelling
I mean, let's
in certain
actually dive into like the examples, right?
Okay.
Sure.
So the example of like makeup.
Well,
guys aren't going to go to fucking women for advice on makeup.
I'm just
they don't
saying,
wear it.
like when women go to other women for advice, it's on their expertise.
What would men be going to women for advice for?
Emotions.
On how to get women.
That's about it. Right?
How to keep it.
When you think about it, like let's break it down.
A woman who
there's
makes a lot
not
of money.
actually that much.
Yeah.
For men to go to women for advice on. So if they wanted to talk to very wealthy people, plenty of men who are very wealthy, usually more wealthy than women. If it was going to come down to an occupational like skills, There's no way women are going to get better advice on electrical, roofing, concrete mixing.
It depends. Just
no,
like
it
I
doesn't
said,
depend.
makeup was one of them.
It doesn't depend. What woman are you going to go to for advice
excel.
on mixing concrete? Come on.
Well, some women would be
Come
better at
on.
sales specifically.
Sales.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Even then, right? Wouldn't you, if you were a man, go, okay, well, there's some disadvantages I have immediately, like I don't have boobs and I'm not cute and I don't have this and I don't have that. You're going to go to who for the best advice on how to sell shit as a man? Men.
I think you're going to go with, someone that looks like you, that way you're like, how do you do what you do? And with that part, I agree with.
But advice for women on if they're the person you're trying to sell to. You get advice on being better at sales through that.
That would be market research.
Except the most successful marketers on planet Earth were men.
But they probably asked women.
And they got the entire planet to smoke. And they got the entire planet to do all of these other things, which are...
This isn't the greatest argument right now.
Well, actually, it is.
No, I'm kidding.
It is.
I got imagine all the bad... But you said good advice.
Well, imagine that you can actually get through crafted propaganda, the whole population to smoke. That was men who were able to at least craft that propaganda. It worked for men and women.
Yeah.
So it's like, and they weren't like, and by the way, that was like the most misogynistic society ever. They weren't.
I think that's what she said was that men were the first ones who could get in that role, and I think that.
So they have, they're a step ahead of women.
That's what's changing. Like now, I'm an executive chef. When you wouldn't really see executive chefs in a female role. Like now, my fiance is a pilot. Like
women are terrible at marketing.
Oh, actually, let me give you some advice. Well, how many women are in that marketing field?
Do you remember Bud Light? Bud Light had a massive controversy where they put Mulvaney on a Bud Light beer can, right? And then lost the entire market share of Bud Light, spearheaded by a woman, right? Spearheaded by a woman trying to sell this beer, not because she understood.
Dylan a woman.
What's that?
Well, that depends on, because I know a little bit about your background. That I'm assuming you don't see Dylan Mulvaney as a woman.
Yeah, I see the woman in charge of the marketing campaign as a woman.
Okay.
The woman in charge of the marketing campaign who had a vagina is definitely a woman.
Yeah.
By any criteria I can think of.
Okay, I didn't know if you were talking about Dylan specifically or if your opinions had changed.
No, the person who put Dylan on the can.
Okay.
That was a female in charge of that. Completely fucked it all up, right? There's multiple marketing campaigns actually I can point to that women spearheaded that they fucked up because they don't take in the male element. They take in the female element. That was a campaign.
I think that's something to learn for sure.
That was a campaign
I'm sure we can point to men failures as well too, but what I mean on marketing. But there was a study that did come out, and I can't remember the guy's name, so I haven't gotten to say it. But he just there's studies that have come out. We can debate it or whatever, but apparently women make excellent CEOs and better CEOs.
No, they don't.
That's on. There's data on that one.
No, but here's the thing.
Changing.
You can look on that one. Someone else can Google that.
There's also data on this. There's also data that says that if you have corporations that do diversity hires, they actually do better than corporations that don't. That was a study that came out that I was just debating the other day, till I came into the debate with all of the modern refutations to the study based on, of course, the new evidence which emerged when they went back to replicate that study. Turns out those companies were already doing great. They just had so much money they were able to start playing with
Costco?
There was tons. There was a bunch of Fortune 500 S&Ps.
Right.
They just had so much money that they were able to start playing around with this model.
Right.
That's not a
It wasn't that model made them rich. They were already fucking rich. They just had enough money that they could start playing with the model.
What's the term for that? That's damn, I'm blanking on it. No. You know when like something looks like it's coming from this? There we go. Correlation.
It was a correlation, not a causation. Correct.
Exactly. So just
they actually said like
this
they
took
a correlate. They took a correlate and then pretended it was a causation when it wasn't to affirm a bias.
Yeah.
So the thing is like anytime I look at this stuff, right, I realize that whenever it's led by empathy first, which women usually lead their morality by empathy first, it's usually a massive failure. It's usually a massive failure.
I hope that they mix both. I think that we can learn from both men and women. I agree, because I think that if a woman's just coming in and she's only looking at the empathy, then yeah, absolutely, you're losing it. But if a guy's coming in and he's only looking at one thing as well too, I think that, if you open yourself up and think about different things and new ways of attacking it.
But I wouldn't dispute that. I wouldn't dispute the idea that there's going to be so I wouldn't monolith anything. I wouldn't say anything's always an all of anything. But if we look at general trends, what we can see is that women lead with empathy first, right? Men tend to lead with reason first.
Yeah. When I coach differently, like if I coach women, I have to get them to like stop with feeling stuff. It's I just need you forward motion. But with men, I need them stop forward motion because you're making mistakes and not assessing. So I need you intuitive. So men can listen to your gut. You've done it, and you've said it. You right now could look at someone or look at someone's profile and intuitively kind of know, based on logic, based on things, based on whatever. But you could know who that person is, what they're about to do or say, or whatnot, or if they're a good person, decent person, or full of shit.
I've had a significant,
you can have intuition as a man.
I've had significant advantages of having tons and tons of interpersonal conversations with thousands of different people all over the place, right?
So it helps your intuition.
I have significant advantages that the general public would not have when it came to understanding what people are saying, why they're saying it, what type of worldview they're leading from.
Yeah.
Most people don't have that.
No.
And because they don't, right, it's easy enough for me to just say, look, generally women do lead with empathy.
Yes.
And generally men do lead with reason.
Yes.
If that's the case, right, who the fuck would you want in charge of every situation?
Both.
Probably the sex.
I want the
that led
person.
with
I
reason.
want either one that's unlocked both. So for a man, if he's got
Why?
intuition,
What advantage does empathy give you over reason?
Because you're
it's
human.
intuition. Think about it
Because
as
you're human.
intuition.
No, not intuition.
No,
That's not
that's
my
so
question.
marketing.
What advantage?
Oh, yeah,
does-
Wait,
Emotions,
hold up. If a man has
Women do
empathy,
usually.
if a man has is able to do forward motion plus empathy, I feel like he's lethal.
What?
That's it.
How? What does the empathy give him?
In the marriage
ability
market,
to care about other things.
like if you're in the dating pool, a woman's going to look for a man who has empathy as well as strength.
EQ.
But if you have reason, couldn't she just fake the empathy?
Who's faking it?
Who's going to get married to someone who's been faking for that long? And you usually can spot red flags.
So, like the idea, I'll give you this great example of this, right? And almost probably every man will do this, where his woman comes to him with some stupid fucking problem he doesn't give a shit about, but she does, right? She cares about it for whatever reason, and it's literally fucking meaningless. Totally meaningless, means nothing, totally irrelevant, totally nonsensical. Nobody on planet Earth gives a shit. He's like this. He goes, "It's okay, honey." Right? Now, in his mind, I'm going to tell you what he's thinking. What he's thinking in his head is, God, this is fucking stupid, and I hope that you just stop with this fucking shit in the next 20 minutes. That would be great. I got other shit to do. I can't even believe that you're hysterical about this. They're faking empathy.
Well, if you
They're
do that, do you
faking
care about
empathy, okay?
Wait, hold up. We have to do that too.
do that too.
We know it's called a relationship.